2 years ago, the lives of so many mothers, fathers, and students from Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, changed forever. 17 people were killed and 17 others were injured in a horrific shooting that renewed the push for gun control legislation. Today, schools across the country and in Parkland itself remembered those who were lost. Our Aaron Katersky has that story.
At this time, we will stop what we're doing and take a moment of silence in remembrance of the lives lost at Stoneman Douglas.
Schools across the country, like this one in Fort Lauderdale, paused for a moment of silence at 10:17 a.m. on the second anniversary of the shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida.
Today is a day where the entire Broward County Public Schools family and community has come together to honor the lives of the 17 that we lost and the many others who were injured.
14 students and 3 teachers died of the massacre. Students in Broward County released early from classes today so they can participate in a day of service and love. For many, this is a difficult day of reflection.
Right now, it's just try to get through the day. But at the end of the day, you know, after what happened, you just got to look forward.
As for the man accused of carrying out the deadly attack, no trial date has been set, but jury selection is expected to begin in late spring or summer.
Thank you to Aaron Katersky for that. Since that tragic day, student survivors have become anti-gun violence activists. Fred Guttenberg is one of those parents. He lost his 14-year-old daughter, Jamie, in the shooting. Here's a look at how he has spoken out against gun violence on the national stage.
Jamie was such a special kid. All of the kids here are. What is unfathomable is Jamie took a bullet and is dead. I don't know what I do next. My wife is home. We are broken. But I can tell you, don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
Your comments this week and those of our president have been pathetically weak. Look at me and tell me guns were the factor in the hunting of our kids in this school this week. And look at me and tell me you accept it and you will work with us to do something about guns.
So long as I am president, I will always protect your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. In reaffirming our heritage as a free nation, we must remember that America has always been a frontier nation. Now we must embrace the next frontier.
I'm a dad. I was a dance dad. This is the room my daughter used to dance in. I expected to continue watching my daughter dance, to go to competitions. Over the years, this room has been a part of my life. You know, all those dreams that I had as a dad for my daughter, they started in this room.
Late yesterday, I had the chance to talk with him about his daughter's memory and about what he's trying to do to prevent similar tragedies now. Mr. Guttenberg, thank you so much for your time and for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
I want to start out just by asking, you know, people say that time heals all wounds. Is that applicable to everything except for losing a child? 2 years later, does it get any easier, the thought of losing Jamie?
That's actually a great question. You know, the pain doesn't ever go away. What I would say, you know, is maybe every day you get to engage in some new experiences and new memories, but your daughter's always with you. The child that you lost is always there with you. For a lot of people, you know, now that we're at this 2-year mark, it means a lot of different things. But to those of us who lost our loved ones, it feels like it was yesterday. We've all moved forward. We're all doing different things now. We're all engaged in different kinds of activism or maybe other experiences with our family. But every day we wake up with that massive hole in our heart, knowing what was taken from us, knowing the room that's still empty, knowing the laughter that we don't hear, knowing, in the case of my house, the silliness that experience anymore, you don't ever forget that. That never goes away.
As we move forward to the laws, because you've been very active in trying to get some change to occur in our country in gun laws, when we talk about, first, if you can explain to us Jamie's law, and then if you think that there's ever a chance that that might have bipartisan support to pass.
Well, listen, for me, Jamie's law actually is the most important thing we could be looking at right now to deal with gun violence, because it actually deals with the weapons that are currently on the street. Most of gun safety legislation is forward-looking and dealing with future purchases. The problem is, in this country, we already have 300 million plus weapons on our streets. They get stolen, they get privately transferred, they end up in the hands of people who intend harm, who can't walk into the store and legally buy a weapon, but they can still get their hands on a weapon. The problem is, even though they may be prohibited purchasers, they can walk into the store and buy the bullets because there's no requirement to do a background check on bullets. Jamie's law seeks to do nothing more than extend background checks to bullets, so that those who are considered prohibited purchasers, who only would be in possession of a weapon that they shouldn't own, or that maybe they stole, or that maybe they got illegally, we're trying to stop them from having the ability to go buy the ammunition. Do I think it's going to pass? I do. I don't think it's going to be an easy process, because it's this, gun safety legislation in this country typically hasn't been. But we see more of it passing every day in cities and states. We look at the House of Representatives under the leadership of Nancy Pelosi and some amazing representatives. We see gun safety legislation passing. Eventually, we're going to see it pass the Senate, because we're going to fire enough senators to flip the Senate, and we're going to fire Mitch McConnell. And once it passes the Senate, we will have gun safety legislation passing in this country.
If you could make one change to gun laws in this country tomorrow, is that the one that it would be?
I've actually changed my view on what I think the most important thing is, and dealing with weapons of war. After Jamie was killed, I did not call for a ban on weapons of war. In fact, I believed we have to do all the other things first. The problem is, across this country, you see men coming out to protests carrying AR-15s on their shoulders as a way of intimidating everyday citizens. The next step beyond carrying that on their shoulders to intimidate is one of those is going to get used. I think we need to deal with the reality that too many people have those weapons, and they're actually putting it in our face that they intend to use them. And because of those people who are using those weapons to intimidate us, I've changed my view on how important it is that we do something about that. Regarding the existing weapons on the street, I do. I think the only way to deal with gun safety legislation comprehensively is to deal with the reality of ammunition.
Yeah, I know during the State of the Union, the president talked about how he would protect gun laws, and you had a comment about that. Explain to those who did not see or hear what you had to say, and then explain to us what happened as a result of you expressing yourself.
He didn't say he was going to protect gun laws. What he said was he was going to defend the Second Amendment, which is under attack across this country, and that was a lie. He was acting as a megaphone for the NRA when he made that statement, and it just simply isn't true. There is no place in this country where gun laws are, or the Second Amendment is under attack. Gun safety legislation has no impact on legal, lawful gun owners. That's a fact. You can look at what we passed here in Florida. There is not a single legal, lawful gun owner who ever thinks about that law because it doesn't affect them. And so because he lied, and because he said he was going to protect the Second Amendment but not protect children like mine, I got emotional. I typically try not to act in an emotional way, but I did that night, and I said 9 words. What about victims of gun violence like my daughter? And for that, I was removed from the room and I was detained.
And subsequent to that, there was an event for Parkland parents that the White House did not include you in. Do you think that this has all gotten too political?
Well, in fairness with the Parkland parents, I had an issue with the way the White House put out their public schedule. There's another group in Parkland that came out of this whole process called Stand With Parkland. They're great families, great people, working really hard for the safety of our kids. They had an event planned with the White House. I didn't know about it because it was intended to be private and under the radar. The White House put out a public schedule that morning that said, meeting with the Parkland families, no press invited. And I started getting calls from media wanting to know, was I going to be at this meeting? I knew nothing about it. And so I went to Twitter saying, here's the schedule. I know nothing about this meeting. I'm not invited. Over the course of the day, I found out what was happening with the other families. I totally support the work that they were doing. I don't like the fact that the White House put out a schedule that looked like they may have been trying to take some opportunities with this 2-year mark. They've since acknowledged that schedule should not have been written that way.
Anything else that you'd like that I haven't asked about that you would like to say?
You know, I just am thankful to you and all the others who are making sure that this 2-year mark is covered. While we're all struggling with this loss, the reality is, by keeping this conversation going, change is going to happen in this country. We've given up the lives we once had to keep doing this work, and we are going to get public safety and gun safety to be the norm in this country as we go forward.
Mr. Guttenberg, thank you again so much for your time. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.